Welcome to the Men After God podcast, where you will be challenged and encouraged as you pursue God, achieve success, and raise a thriving family. Join your host, Dustin, and his guests on a weekly journey to grow as husbands, fathers, and men after God. Here is your host, Dustin Alley.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Men After God podcast. We are looking forward to our great conversation we are about to have today. Excited about a number of different things going on. Like as the time of this recording for our pre-launch, if you will, we've got 15 founding members. That's awesome to see coming through. We've got, we are up on all major podcasting platforms to include YouTube for our videos. And it has just been a wonderful, wonderful week in the podcasting world. And we're excited about what this podcast and this movement represents. That's Men After God. And today I want to shout out to a couple of our founding members, guys. Thank you so much for being supporters of what we've got going on here. Let's see. We are on Mr. Matt Miles. Appreciate you. And Dennis Gervais. Man, thank you guys so much for jumping in and supporting what God is doing here. Today's topic is about humility. And humility is misapplied, misunderstood, I think, often in Christianity, especially as men. I know this was something I struggled with as a young man. I went to the Marine Corps, and they look at you and tell you you're better than everybody else. And so, you know, I mean, I already knew that, but they told me. So it kind of brought affirmation, you know what I'm saying? And so, but in all honesty, guys, we want to talk with you about being humble as it pertains to your marriage, to your parenting, to your workplace, and just what that's going to look like. Craig, what's the most exciting thing happening in your life right now?
The most exciting thing?
Yeah.
The days that there's nap time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Loving your naps right now, getting that rest in. Yeah. And if you're following all our episodes, you should have just listened to one about that because rest is important. How long do you nap for? You like a 15-minute nap or an hour nap?
Yeah, it's going to be 15 to 30 minutes. 15 to 30. If it's any more than that,
just not feeling it.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm out.
You know what I found in myself? Rest requires humility.
You know, I'm a pretty arrogant sleeper.
Yeah, are you?
I'm the best at sleeping, yo.
How do you sleep arrogantly? I'm just curious. Like, do you have like a?
Amy always talks about how I can just like lay down and fall asleep, and she hates that because. It's awesome to just be able to lay down and fall asleep. And so I sleep with a smirk on my face. It's arrogant.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I was wondering what's going on in your life because I'm just glad to have you part of the podcast. It's awesome to have you as a co-host. You're doing a great job. Thank you. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Notice the humble way in which he receives the compliment, right, guys? And so,
the most humble guy I know.
The most humble guy he knows. Love it. Hey, guys, where humility starts is not with the decision to be humble, but I believe it starts with our relationship with Christ. I was asked one time, do you think humility is a virtue? And virtue being defined as something that is just inherent to a person. It is just who you are. While I think it can become that, and for some people it may be, I don't think that's true for everyone.
No, it's definitely something that you have to work at. Yeah. Especially, I think everybody's humble to a degree, and in different situations. But there are definitely moments and times where we like to be arrogant, proud, whatever the opposite of humble is.
Yeah,
pick a word.
There you go. And it's a choice, really. You know, as a pastor. People will compliment a message and or something going on, and people are kind sometimes, and they'll say something nice about it, and it's real easy. I mean, it's real easy. Let's just be honest, guys. It's real easy for when someone begins to compliment what you're doing, even in doing it in service for the Lord, to become proud and very confident, almost to the point of cocky and arrogant about what you're doing, right? And so it's a choice, not in just how you receive the compliment, but how you let it affect your mind and heart. And so we understand that it comes from our walk with God. And we've got Micah 6:8 pulled up here. The Bible says, know, O people, know, N-O, O people, the Lord has told you what is good. And this is what he requires of you, to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Craig and I were talking about this before, and he made a great statement. I don't know how you can walk with God and not be humbled. When we see ourselves in light of God, in light of who Christ is, humility is just a byproduct of that, because we see our imperfections, we see our faults, but it's in our weaknesses we see his strength. And so humility shouldn't cause a self-deprecating attitude.
No.
Right? It's understanding who you are in a proper context. And so what, Craig, when it comes to understanding who you're in a proper context, like, has there been a time in your life where maybe you, because I've already admitted, like, I'm the one that was very proud and arrogant. I don't know about you. So this is like first time asking, like, was there a time where you had that and like you had to see a switch flip for you?
I'm sure somebody in my life could say yes to that. I can't think of where. I think I'm on the opposite side of that coin, a little bit jaded.
Yeah.
In my experience, people will tell you all kinds of nice things for whatever help reason. Self-help's not the word, but for whatever reason that's going to, help them. And it may not be true. You sing a special at church and like, oh my goodness, that was the best special we ever heard. You got such a great voice, son. And then you go back and listen to it on live stream and you're like, listen to these ladies lying out their teeth, through their teeth, with their teeth.
Yeah. Well, it sounded good to them. Their hearing aids were off.
That's probably what it was. Or their hearing aids were picking up the K-Love station on FM radio.
It. There you go. Right.
But yeah, so I'm a little bit jaded. When people say stuff, it just kind of, it rolls off my back.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear. I'm not going to lie. It's nice to hear, but it's okay. What do you do? You need me to help you move this weekend? What's going on?
That's great. Yeah, man. So for me, the confidence, I like to say confidence. My wife would say arrogance or cockiness. That was as a young man. It probably wasn't like immediately when I came out of the Marine Corps into ministry, but it transitioned a little bit as I was growing in ministry, and my pastor was having to teach me a number of things. And one thing I learned in ministry, and has helped me as a father and as a business owner and as a husband, is that there's times where you're going to apologize when you're not 100% confident in that why you're apologizing, but you're recognizing that you've hurt someone's feelings, and so you're taking them into consideration and apologizing for that. Yeah. Because that should not be our intention in any of our actions or things that we say. And so even as a husband and as a father, I've had arguments. I'm pretty sure I've had arguments as a young man of ending it or trying to end it with, I don't need to apologize. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
That's not always true, guys. You've probably got some part to play in why there's an argument taking place. But humility comes from a walk with God. And so this is a great theme of our podcast, is deepening your relationship with Jesus. And as you're taking those steps in daily routines to walk with God, you're going to, again, see him for who he is. And that helps us see us for who we are. And when it comes to our marriage, understanding that we are co-heirs with Christ, with our spouse, there's equality there. Now, there's different, we can get into a conversation one day about egalitarianism versus complementarianism. And for those that don't know what those $10 words are, there are how you view the relationship between a man and a woman as the Bible teaches. And when we view women as equal heirs with Christ with different roles, it's easy for us to have respect and humility for our spouse. What's that look like, though? One of the ways that I think as husbands we can show humility is in acknowledging what our spouse would like to see from us when it comes to how we live throughout the week. What are we doing during the week, and keeping them informed? How are we helping them around the house and stuff? There's the old adage and this old mentality of women do women's work, right? Don't counsel me for saying that, all right? But of house cleaning and different stuff like that. And for guys, it's like, no, I take care of this, that, and the other. Well, I think humility shows us that there's times where we can step in and we can help, we can be a part of her life and what's going on. And as she should do the same thing. That's a mutual relationship. But as a husband, I know as a young man, Sarah and I had the agreement. She'd take care of the home and I'd take care of work and stuff. And that went great until it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because when there was things to be done around the house and I'm just laying around not doing anything, the young 20-year-old-ish Dustin was not earning any points or showing his wife any respect in that area. And so, Greg, what about you and Amy early on? Like, where was there tension there from a lack of humility between you two? I mean, I know she's very humble. You are the one that was probably at fault. And so,
Oh, yeah, definitely. If there's any issues in our relationship, it's my fault.
Mhm.
And I don't say that facetiously, even though it sounded like that for just a second.
He's just being humble, guys.
Being for real.
Yeah.
Where was that in our relationship? It was kind of the same, when we got married, of course, no kids at the time, which was, I love my kids, but I kind of miss those days. But no kids at the time, so we both worked. When we came home, mom raised me well. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but man, she taught me how to put the seat down on the toilet, to iron my clothes, to pick up after myself, do laundry, cook, all that kind of stuff. And so my wife got a good deal. Not really, but
we won't talk about what my wife got.
But so we kind of partnered in that. There was really, I don't know, when we started out, we kind of shared all the responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so Amy might have done a little bit more of the cooking, just because, how we were raised, that it was women's work. But, it was nice to walk in the kitchen and I'm going to say help her, but really it was just, grabbing buns or something,
Out of the oven.
Yeah, hamburgers. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. What else would you do? That's awesome. Yeah. So the being humble as a husband, one of the areas I think for me is, and even especially if you have a spouse that might not be working, which is they're out there, and even more so if they are working, there's got to be respect of schedule and time.
Right.
Because we can fall into this trap of what I have to do is more important, and not include them in planning and different things that we have happening there. And so respecting their schedule and time is just sitting down with them and saying, hey, listen, this is what my week looks like. This is what my next month looks like. And asking them, what does yours look like? How are we making time for one another? And I want, do you have time for you to just go and be you and have fun, get away from the kids and me for a bit, go shopping or whatever it is you want to do. And humbly putting yourself underneath them to say, hey, I want to elevate you to go take care of you and the things that you have going on in your life. That's just like one practical thing of just, again, honor and respect, I think, for your spouse. Now, what about your kids and being humble with your kids? Man, there's some days.
Let me read a verse out of the scriptures.
Oh, hey man, bring it, brother.
Because this is going to make me sound wise, but I didn't write it. So Philippians 2:3 says, let nothing be done out of strife or conceit. And for you King's English people, vainglory. But in humility, let each esteem the other better than himself, which is really what Jesus did. And so in regard to our kids, I would say that it's, if we're esteeming each other better than ourselves, to me, that says, okay, I have my desires, the things that I enjoy doing, the activities that I like participating in, and maybe they have different interests. Mm-hmm. And so to esteem my kids better than myself would be to take some time to, okay, we're not going to do what dad wants. What do you guys want to do? You want to throw the ball around? You want to play video games? Like, what do you want to do? And I dive in with them on, and I'm not great at this. I say that like, I could write a book, but I can't. So I could write a book of what not to do.
There you go.
But it would be an opportunity to dive in with what they want to do, their interests, their hobbies.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And the, because for my kids, I've got, my oldest enjoys soccer, and I did not. I never played soccer a day in my life until we signed him up for soccer. I may have played in the Marine Corps, but again, I had no idea what I was doing. So really just a body on the field. And then my middle son, he likes baseball, and I could get into that. I used to play. And then my daughter is enjoying baseball, and she's played soccer and done a couple other things, and she's still trying to figure out like what her sport will be. But just getting in on what they're doing. I think we mentioned in a podcast, I'm not sure, but my son likes reading Percy Jackson books.
Yeah.
And to get him to talk to me one time, we had like a 45-minute ride at night from a party he was at. It was a rager. Let me tell you, I picked him up. And anyways, yeah, they were really shutting the McDonald's down, but whole other story. And so But he was, we were driving back, and my wife had just told me how she was having trouble getting him to talk on the car ride. And so I just asked him, hey, tell me about the book you're reading. 45 minutes later, we pulled into the house, and I don't know if I'd said another word. And so he was talking to me. It was so much conversation, but it was great to just hear about what he's interested in. Another way of humbling ourselves with our children, guys, is and when it comes to discipline and when we discipline wrongly. If you're a guy like me, you are probably guilty of disciplining or correcting with some anger behind it. And from time to time, when that happens, you've got to recognize that. And then we humble ourselves, just like we would if we had a good friend that we maybe had a bad day and went off on and had to give a call and be like, hey, buddy, my bad. I've had to do it before. I've sat my kids down and say, hey, listen, guys, dad was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize. And I'm not perfect. I want you to know that. I don't want the way I've acted. Now, this is important for me. I think I said this Sunday when I was preaching. What's important for me is to do all that I can to ensure that my faults and my failures do not detract from their view of Jesus. Case for Christ, great movie out there. If you haven't seen that, watch that. But Case for Christ, the documentary and the movie. But in the movie, he goes and talks to a psychologist, I believe it was, and who's agnostic, and he's trying again to disprove the resurrection of Jesus, and talks to her, and she says that she asked him, how's your relationship with your father? Mm-hmm. And it's not good. And she goes on to say Darwin and lists a few other names of prominent atheists all had father wounds because of how either the father treated them or the hypocrisy of their dads and stuff. One guy just recently, a reel on Facebook, he was talking about how his father was an evangelist and would preach, but who he was at home was not who he was behind the pulpit. And so, that's always on my mind. And so that's something I try to communicate to my kids. Hey, guys, listen, dad's not perfect. I preach biblical principles and truths, and I seek to apply them, but I am just like the rest of you. And I say to the rest of you, I'm not trying to elevate myself in any way by that statement, but I'm just like everyone else, that I'm going to mess up. And that scripture of not provoking our children to wrath is definitely a principle to take into our lives, to humble ourselves underneath them, to not bring them to anger because of our actions. And so, if you are like me and have unfortunately let your pride and anger show, you need to apologize for that and explain to them that listen, Jesus and God are a much better father than I am. But I love you and I am your dad and I'm going to make mistakes, but I never want our relationship to hurt. Right.
And those of you that, for most of us, that's not the case. He's probably the only one. You can just disregard that part of the episode.
Yeah. We'll let Craig talk more about the humility and children.
I was down pat. My kids are perfect.
Yes, they are. Especially Noah. Yeah.
He is the breaker of things.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got my Ethan. He's got his Noah. And so, but yeah, so that, that's with our kids, man. I think that can sometimes be the hardest because for me, I see my worst traits come out in them.
Yeah. I don't like to see me. Every time I see me, I think, Lord, why did you entrust these children to me?
Yeah.
You knew how much of a flawed, failed human being I am.
Right.
And picking up on it.
Yeah. And what's even worse is when your wife picks up on it. Yeah. And she looks at you and says, you know where they get that from, right?
Or without saying that, she says, your son.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Those are good. Yeah. Being humble with our family, man. It's so important, guys. Again, the theme of our podcast is achieving success with a thriving faith and family. Your family will not thrive if you do not have a humble heart and spirit. That's going to come from your walk with God. And now what about the workplace? Whenever you're out in the world and, maybe you don't work in a church where everyone's a Christian and you're dealing with different personalities and different attitudes. It's been a long time since I've been in a non-ministry environment. As far as work is concerned. I started full-time ministry in 2015, and the time of this recording is 2023. So what is that? 8 years? 8 years I've not been in a secular work environment, but do I remember how it was. And you're surrounded by either unbelievers or people that believe differently, and especially in a military environment, the colorful language. Again, the Marine Corps, where you're told you're better than everybody else. Pride was just prevalent, even in my own heart. And how do guys conduct themselves with humility in the workplace? And let's think about the guy that's, in business or in the corporate world, and you're trying to climb the corporate ladder. How do these guys live out the virtue, the principle, the truth of humility from their walk with God in their workplace? Craig, got any thoughts or any ideas for these guys that they can take?
I'm going to go back to that verse that I shared. It says, esteeming others better than yourself. I think where we end up getting proud and cease to be humble is when we start considering ourselves to be better than everybody else. But if we have the mindset that other people are also created in the image of God, and then we consider them better than us, we're going to treat them better. We're going to treat them with respect, and we're going to be a little more forgiving when it comes to their flaws and things like that, versus when we walk around like we're the best thing, that God's ever given to this earth, then every time someone messes up around us or offends us, it becomes the biggest deal, and we act out wrongly because of it.
Yeah, I think the pride and arrogance that can come from our hearts as just sinners, as human nature, is just associated in that business world, talking about that, climbing that corporate ladder, going to the next position, giving yourself a better station in life, if you will, trying to achieve the next big thing. And that pursuit of success is not wrong, but pursuit of success in an ungodly manner is. And when you're pursuing success with pride and arrogance, you're going to find yourself elevating yourself. I quoted this on Sunday. It came to my mind. I had to look it up. But 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 and 7, the Bible says, humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties or your worries, your cares on him, because he cares for you. A lot of us, I believe, can be desiring more from life than what God desires for us. And if we're pursuing after all these things, and guys, this is coming from an ambitious, driven guy that has founded this podcast and this movement, and that there's dreams and visions that are associated with this. You can ask Craig when it comes to our church and the vision that I have for where we're going there. It's not small potatoes, but we have to ensure that we're pursuing them for God and humbly doing so. If I was sitting here and saying, hey, we're going to be the greatest podcast ever, and started, smear campaigns against all other podcasts for Christian men, right? Like, what am I doing there? I'm tearing these people down. What I'm really trying to do, what I want us to do, is our guest coordinator and our marketing specialist, I'm hoping we'll be reaching out to some of these other podcasts, and let's cross post, man. Let's get on there and let's share this. Let's build others up. Because as we build others up, I believe God will lift us up, because we're humbling ourselves, not just underneath them. And this is true in the corporate world. This is true in your family. You're not just humbling yourself beneath another person. You're humbling yourself before God. And that causes humility towards others and allowing God to elevate us. But that starts leading to a conversation on contentment. And that's a podcast for another day. Craig, any last minute thoughts here as we start to wrap up for our just regular podcast, which, as he's thinking about some just last minute thoughts, let me share with you a couple things, guys. Make sure you're following us, facebook.com/menaftergod podcast. You can head over to patreon.com/menaftergod and sign up to be a founding member. Founding members get a free piece of merch from our merch store of your choice. You get 10% off, a lifetime discount for anything Men After God produces. You're going to get coaching calls, 4 coaching calls with me on a topic of your choice, a coaching call with a finance guy, a health and wellness guy, and a relationship guy, and that are all going to be able to just give you a 1-hour phone call and get you started with some next steps to grow in that area. And then that's where the Men After God community comes in. I love the fact that we've got a community started, and I can't wait to start seeing that grow. But facebook.com/groups/menaftergod. You can find us on there. And then don't forget, if you're listening to this, you can also follow us on YouTube for the video and see that we have faces for radio. And you'll be able to catch up everything there. Give us a subscribe, like, follow, and share. It's always greatly appreciated as we seek to impact more people, more men to pursue after God and what God has for them in this life with a thriving faith and family. Craig, let's hear it, man. Final thoughts, humility.
Dang, I should have been thinking about that. I was trying to figure out where to point on the screen. Like, subscribe, like,
Oh,
share.
there you go.
And
Yeah.
our editor's not going to like it if I do that. No, some final thoughts.
We haven't told him he's doing that yet. Yeah, it's rough.
So some final thoughts, or thought. I don't have a lot going on up there. One of the ways that I feel like I've learned to be more humble when working with other people is I have a certain way I like to do things, and some quirks, some OCD, some you name it. And I will have this idea of things need to be done this way because either I've done it before or I've thought this through and I know it'll work, to then find out somebody has another idea or whatever, and I'm just like, whatever. And so because of their title or position that is greater than mine, and not because of a verse that I was following, I would do it the way that they said and find out, hey, it's a little bit easier and it actually works. And I don't know everything and other people know stuff, and I should probably listen more than I talk.
2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them proportionally, right?
Amen.
That's it. That's good. I think that leads into a great just final thought for myself of exactly that. Humility comes, yes, from a walk with God. Then we need to take one step after that, after our walk with God, and we have to understand people, understand where people are coming from. Ask questions more than you make statements. Asking someone, what's called, hey, I'm sorry to hear that I've upset you. I don't understand. Could you help me understand so that I may not do that again? Or just again, understanding where someone's coming from. A lot of times often we are judging people based off their actions and not their intentions. And we judge ourselves based on our intentions and not our actions. But why is that? Because we see their actions and we assume their intentions. And there's an old saying about the word assume, but we'll just leave that to your imagination. That's it. But finding out a person's intentions is what's going to allow us to be to fully understand them and help us to even walk humbly with God and walk humbly with them because of our walk with God. Guys, it's been great talking with you today about humility. I pray that this content has just helped you in your pursuit of success and doing it so in a humble way. We are going to get off here. We're actually about to record for our paid subscribers, our founding members right now. We're so thankful for you guys and looking forward to continuing the conversation over there. You guys have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Men After God podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and keep up with the show by following us at facebook.com/menaftergod. You can also reach out to Dustin personally at dustin@seekconsulting.us with any questions or for coaching on being a man after God. Until next time.